You've probably heard of every online business model under the sun, right? You've heard of SMMA, you've heard of the automation AI agency, you've heard of IPGA, you've heard of growth operating, you've heard of drop shipping, you've heard of affiliate marketing, you've heard of Amazon FBA, all of these business models that seem to be saturated and overdone and oversold. And so what I'm gonna do in this video is give you 3 trending businesses that I think are gonna blow up in the next couple of months so that you can become successful and make a heap of money. What I'm also gonna do in this video is give you 30 other business ideas that you'll have never heard of before and never thought of before, because what I want to start encouraging you to do is thinking outside the box and going above and beyond the boundaries set by these modern day business influencers so you can become more successful and make more money. Let's get into it. So the first one is the personal branding agency. I think that what's going to happen in the next year or two is we are going to see a 10-fold increase in the number of entrepreneurs and people who want to build a personal brand online to sell things. And as with any market, if there's an exponential increase in demand, it's going to take a while for the supply to catch up. And what that means is that the market is hungry. There are millions and millions of entrepreneurs who want to build personal brands but do not know how. They either don't have the time or the expertise or the knowledge. And so if you learned how to do this for other people and you branded people up, I think that's going to work incredibly well. The reason I have so much confidence this is about to take off is A, because of the impact it's had on my business and my personal brand and what I've seen, but B, we're only just starting to notice now celebrities flocking to the online personal branding space. So Cristiano Ronaldo has now got a YouTube channel. Tom Brady has now just started a YouTube vlog and a YouTube channel as well. And all of these other celebrities are coming from far and wide to capitalize on this attention economy. And as that happens, we're seeing loads and loads of a massive flood of online entrepreneurs coming into it. So for example, what you could do is you could work with realtors in the United States of America, and you could help them with their Instagram profiles, TikTok profiles to help them sell more houses in the local area using organic traffic like this. Another example I can give you is on the short form space. I know on TikTok and Instagram Reels and stuff, there's a guy that has a pool cleaning business in the UK, and he uses these platforms to grow his pool cleaning business. I've seen it as well with people that have lawn mowing businesses in local areas. So this is on the cusp of massive exponential growth, and if you're there right now, just before it happens, and you get really good at this in the next 6 to 12 months, by the time the next couple of years roll around, you're going to be perfectly positioned to capitalize on this market. So the second market or space or business model that I think is going to absolutely explode and go wildly ballistic in the next couple of years is the community management space. And what's going to happen here, and the thing that's going to spearhead this space being appropriate, is School. So if you haven't heard of School before, it's a social media platform that is on its exponential growth curve, and it's bringing a market with it, it's bringing opportunity with it. And as School grows and develops, and it's this community management platform, what's going to happen is loads of entrepreneurs and loads of business people and loads of normal people are going to start to host paid communities. And this is already happening. School's got tens of thousands of people who are paying money to be in these communities, and everyone's starting to find community online. And so what I think is going to be a pretty good play is for you to have a community management agency, for you to learn everything there is to know about community management, community retention, community satisfaction, and everything around that space at all, and bringing that knowledge to people who have these online communities, whether it's through School or something else, and implementing the knowledge of community management. And I know that this is something that people would pay for because I've got a community online that I use for my clients, and I would pay someone who was really good at this to manage my community because it makes the overall client experience better, it increases retention of the community, it makes more people want to join. And so if you can nail this, and you can build a done-for-you service where you come into people's communities and manage them and police them and delete posts that shouldn't be there and create culture, this thing's going to go absolutely wild and ballistic, and it's going to make you a ton of money if you get in early. Now, the third agency that I think is going to be absolutely insane to start is a podcast agency. Now, you probably thought I was going to write an AI agency here, but the reason I chose not to write an AI agency is because it's so bloody obvious and you've probably already thought of it or heard of it before, and I want to give you new ideas. Why is a podcast agency going to be a good idea to start? Well, this is I'm aware that it's kind of similar to the personal branding agency, but what we're observing is everyone and their nan is starting a podcast. Everyone wants to begin a podcast. We've all listened to the Diary of a CEO, we've all listened to Joe Rogan, we've all been listening to these podcasts, and this is kind of a knock-on effect of this thing here. So the personal brand space is going to go absolutely ballistic. And the good news is that if this goes ballistic, then also the community management thing will go ballistic, and also the podcast thing will go ballistic. So the reason the community management thing's about to go absolutely nuts is because this thing's going to go nuts, and all these personal brand people are going to capitalize on their communities by selling community, if that makes sense. But when that all happens, there's also going to be podcasts. So I'm observing this where, like, if you actually look at the number of podcasts that are being started and created, it is exponential. It's ridiculous how many new people want to start a podcast. And so if you get really good at this, you're going to crush it. So for example, like finding people guests or done for you guest research. Imagine that. Imagine you go to someone who's got a podcast and say, tell me who you've got on. I will do a complete, deep dive into their entire life and tell you everything you need to know about them and exactly what questions to ask, so you don't have to do any research. Right, that's just one example of an agency that could come out of this podcasting space. Same thing with done for you podcasting studio setup or podcast management or something like that. There is so much opportunity in this space, and if you start now and you get really good at this now, you're going to absolutely crush it. So these are the big three that I think are coming up. And what I want to do now is give you 30 more out-of-the-box ideas that will hopefully inspire you to pick a good business model. So what you can see on the board here are 30 different ideas that I've picked for you that should inspire you. Now, I'm not necessarily recommending that you start these businesses. All I'm telling you is I've seen all of these work, and that if you became the best in the world at each of these things, then you can actually build a one-man business that allows you to achieve financial freedom and get whatever you want. So we'll start with number one on the board is UGC. UGC agency basically stands for a user-generated content agency. And what UGC is it's basically finding user-generated content on platforms like TikTok for brands to use for marketing. Now, the second thing is mindfulness. You could become a mindfulness coach and teach people to be more present. The third thing would be crowdfunding. So imagine you got really, really, really good at figuring out how to use GoFundMe or other platforms, and you became an expert in that and sold that to people who needed crowdfunding. The fourth thing could be quitting addiction. A friend of mine used to be an alcoholic, overcame that problem and that addiction, and now he teaches people how to overcome that as well. Same sort of premise, right? The fifth thing could be high ticket tutoring. So maybe you work with very wealthy parents who want their kids to get into very expensive schools, tutoring them on specific topics. The sixth thing could be time management consulting. So maybe you become an absolute professional and expert in the ability of time management for executives or for anyone. And you sell them a solution on how to manage their time better. The seventh thing, kind of related to that, could be productivity consulting. Maybe you become the best in the world at productivity and keeping people productive and efficient with their work. The eighth thing could be dating coaching. Fairly self-explanatory. Maybe you work with men or women and you help them find their ideal partner or enter a relationship they want to be in. The ninth thing, speech writing. Imagine you get incredible at speech writing, and maybe you get really, really, really good at writing political speeches for political parties, and that becomes your niche and that becomes your offer, and you get paid very handsomely to write great speeches. The 10th thing could be spreadsheet building. So maybe you're an absolute demon at Google Sheets or an absolute wizard at Microsoft Excel sheets or whatever, and you know how to write all the formulas, you know it like a second language. Maybe you help data preservation companies specifically with spreadsheets. All of these ideas, they're going to have to come with a niche where the idea is appropriate for the niche. But if you can get the idea right, become an expert in it, and also get a really good niche, you're going to crush. The 11th thing could be chatbot scripts. So maybe you become the best in the world at writing chatbot scripts to do conversions online. The 10th thing is DMCA takedown. So this basically, I don't know what DMCA stands for, but what this basically means is copyright takedown. So lots of books, lots of movies, lots of videos, lots of courses get copied and resold online. And what a DMCA takedown person does is they find those copyrights and they remove them, from the index of Google, and they get all the communities that are reselling things shut down. I have one of these and I pay him like $3,000 a month to do this for me, so I know it works. The 13th thing is a ChatGPT consulting business. So maybe you become an absolute expert in ChatGPT prompts and you go to a specific market that could massively benefit from ChatGPT that isn't right now, and you package up your solution into a course or a done-for-you offering and you show them how to become way more efficient with ChatGPT. 14, ghost blogging. Maybe you help people who haven't got time to blog, but you know their niche really well, and you write blogs on their behalf and you do that for them. The 15th thing could be voiceovers. So maybe you've got a really compelling voice or a really persuasive voice, and maybe you do voiceovers for people who aren't as confident as you. The 16th thing could be audio mastering. So this is obviously where you're mastering the audio in post-production. Lots of people do this. There's a whole business called mastering.com that is built around helping people start these sorts of businesses, so it's viable and it certainly works. The 17th thing is a CRO agency, which stands for conversion rate optimization. Typically, this is going to be in the e-commerce space where you're helping certain brands increase and optimize the rate at which their landing page converts strangers into paying customers, right? And the amount of money someone's willing to pay to do that. These agencies exist, they're very successful, they're low-key, under the radar, you could start one. You have to become an expert, but any skill can be acquired, right? As long as the foundations are there, you're all good. The 18th thing could be customer feedback. So a lot of businesses that are very successful, they don't have a feedback mechanism to assess customer satisfaction, lifetime value, retention, all of these things. How likely are you to recommend a friend? Some of my neighbors, when I was growing up, they actually run a feedback agency, and they make millions and millions and millions of pounds and dollars by helping companies with customer feedback. So you can do this. The 19th thing could be domain negotiation. So maybe you become an expert in negotiating domain names, and you're a broker for domains. And so if a company wants a very specific domain and someone's got it listed for $50,000, maybe you enter a negotiation on their behalf, get it down to $30,000, and you get paid 10% of the difference or something, right? The 20th thing could be a pitch decker. This is someone that basically creates professional pitch decks for companies to basically make their sales process more compelling and more engaging. Maybe you become an absolute demon, an expert at writing the best pitch decks in the world. Maybe you spend an entire year of your life studying every pitch deck under the sun, finding the best ones, collating it all together, and becoming a true expert and selling that expertise onto other people. Maybe you create a course on how to create a pitch deck, or you do it done for you. The 21st thing would be the video game troubleshooter. Now, this is a little bit more further afield, but there are people out there that get paid 6 figures a year to troubleshoot games, to play games that are still in testing and beta mode, and find problems with them and troubleshoot them professionally. So maybe you could do that. The 22nd thing could be a cold calling agency. Maybe you cold call for people to get them clients. The 23rd thing, huge one that no one does, lead nurturing agency. So businesses that are already getting leads, like maybe you run a show-up agency or a lead nurturing agency, where once someone's booked a call or a sales call with a business, your job is to make sure they show up, to make sure they're really warm, to make sure they're properly qualified, and you do everything post-booking before the sale happens to make sure that that sale is as smooth as possible. That's a really good agency to start. The 24th thing could be LinkedIn profile creation. So maybe you, once again, similar to the pitch deck thing, maybe you study all of the best LinkedIn profiles and you become the best in the world at creating LinkedIn profiles and basically just doing the whole profile thing. And then you could sell a done-for-you solution on that for people and create their profiles for them, or you could create a course on how to do it and show them how to do it so you want to be more scalable. These are just, all of these things, like people do these for a living and they make tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and millions of dollars actually doing this actively. You don't have to look for these really popular business models that are already being run by thousands of people when there's hundreds more like these. The 25th thing is virtual event management. So maybe you become the best in the world at managing virtual events for people and hosting these massive Zoom meetings with hundreds and hundreds of people and organizing and operating that entire affair. Maybe the next thing could be remote support agency. So maybe you get really good at training support reps, and I actually know a guy who works with e-commerce stores, and I think he makes like 30 grand a month. And what this guy does is he does remote support for e-com stores. And so he's got an army of virtual assistants in third and second world countries, and he trains them up on how to do this support thing online and to do the help chat and to manage help emails. He then goes to e-commerce stores and says, hey, you pay me X amount of money and my team will do your support for you. And he gets paid handsomely for that, right? So it's a possibility. The 27th thing is Twitter ghostwriting. So maybe you go to people who want to have a presence on Twitter, but they don't have enough time to do it, and then you write a tweet, you write tweets for them. You basically study them, you know their market, you get into their mind, and you write their tweets and you charge them thousands of dollars a month to do that. The next thing could be software testing. So maybe you get really, really good at testing softwares and user interfaces and troubleshooting bugs in softwares so that before a software launches, someone comes to you because you're the best and they pay you to find every single problem with it. The second to last thing could be an engineer recruiter. So one of the biggest problems that software businesses have right now and have always had is finding really, really, really good talent. So if you get really, really, really good at finding really, really good talent and placing that talent into these software businesses, they will pay you hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, even for like a couple of engineers, right? And I know this is true because I know a lot of these software guys and it's the biggest pain point they have. And the last thing could be VA placements. So maybe you get really good at finding very talented and efficient and diligent virtual assistants in the Philippines or Thailand or other countries, and you bring those virtual assistants forward into businesses that need them. So for example, I know a guy that does this for a professional services niche, whether it's accountants, lawyers, consultants, etc., who are really busy and they value their time and they pay by the hour. And they're paid by the hour. So they recognize the importance of their hours. And so it's an easy sell because you say, look, you pay me, $2,000 a month and I will save you 20 hours a month. And that person's like, well, damn, my time's worth more than that, so I'll pay for it. And so these are 30 ideas. These are just like, I just came up with these off the top of my head and with my experience in business in the last 7 years. All you have to do is think, what's a transformation that I've been through and a problem that I've solved for myself that other people like me might pay me for? Figure that one out. It might come under one of these categories. It could be something else. It could be something completely random. But if there's a market with a need and a problem, and you have an expertise that basically solves that problem, then you have a business. So this video was just to get you to think outside the box. I haven't got in-depth tutorials on how to do each of these things, but I wanted to get you started. So hopefully this gives you some inspiration, and I'll see you in the next video.